Welcome to the channel. This is Oblivion, and we are finally here. It is Choose Your Legends Refine Night. We've got a giant batch of refines with some amazing effects, some wins, and some losers. So let's go ahead and jump right in because we got a lot to talk about. So let's start off with my most anticipated refine, Brave Dimitri. Brave Dimitri has been in a bad spot pretty much since his release, but he has finally gotten a very solid refine. So let's go over it. Unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range, grants special cooldown charge +1 per foe's attack during combat, so that's exactly the same as it already was, no changes there. Here's the actual refine. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants speed, defense, resistance +5 to unit during combat, deals damage equal 20% of unit's defense, reduces damage from foe's attacks by 20% of unit's defense, excluding AoEs, inflicts defense -5 on foe during combat, and neutralizes foe's bonuses to attack and defense. Okay, wow, so there's a lot in here, so let's break it down to the actual effects it has. So it has distant counter, and then it has +1 special cooldown per foe's attack. So that is the Owain effect, right? This isn't a breath effect. It's nothing different. So essentially, if he gets hit, he'll get +2, and when he attacks back, he'll only get +1. Then in the refine itself, we have +5 to all stats essentially, right? If you have an ally within 3 spaces. So you're essentially getting +5 to all stats, but the difference is that they're doing -5 defense on the foe, which is effectively +5 attack. But the cool thing is because it's -5 defense on the foe, it actually helps Blue Lion's rule better because it has a defense comparison, right? So it's going to make it easier to get that damage reduction from his B skill. Very, very cool. I'm glad they actually did that. It makes it like much better. Then we get deals damage equal 20% of unit's defense. So this is 20% true damage based off Dimitri's defense. This is extremely powerful, right? This is part of Asker's effect. This is what we were looking for. Then we have reduces damage from foes' attacks by 20% of unit's defense. So this is 20% true defense, right? This is like the flat damage reduction. This is the stuff that can't be penetrated by lethality or deadeye. So this is very good. It's got me very excited, right? But it's not over yet. He also has essentially low attack defense. He's going to be able to neutralize the foe's bonuses to attack and defense. So if they have like +6 attack or +6 defense, he's going to just take that off, which does make it not only easier for him to hit those defense checks based off Blue Lion rule, right? So he's going to be able to get that defense-based damage reduction easier, but it's also just going to make it much more difficult to kill him. So overall, this refine is very good. It's very powerful, right? He got essentially the Asker treatment that I was asking for. He got some stats, and then he also got low attack defense, which I just didn't expect at all. But let's talk about some of the things that are missing and some things that we're going to have to think about when using Dimitri, right? First of all, they did not change the special cooldown charge in his weapon to like a breath effect. And the reason why this is kind of a big deal is because he doesn't have special cooldown built into his weapon. So that means typically you're going to want to run like a 2 cooldown special so that he gets hit and then he retaliates with that 2 cooldown special. So something like Moonbow or Glimmer, Ruptured Sky, or like Noontime if you want the healing. If it was like the breath effect, the cool thing about that was that we could run bigger cooldowns like Ignis, right? Which we really can't do now. We can't even do Bonfire, which kind of sucks. The other thing is that we didn't get any stats in the base weapon itself, which isn't too uncommon because they typically don't do that in the distant counter refines. It is a bit unfortunate because it does mean that Dimitri is going to be down a few stats compared to other units, because a lot of units will get like +10 to all stats in their new weapon and the refine. So he'll be down a bit of stats because of that distant counter. One of the things you have to think about is that Dimitri is going to be weak to like brave effects from mages, so like something like Duocorn obviously, or like Winter Lysithea, someone who could like, essentially he can get hit twice. He's going to take a lot of damage still because his resistance is still really low. Even at max investment, he's looking at like 28 resistance, which isn't much. Now the true defense damage reduction will reduce that damage, which is really nice and awesome. And he's also going to get the defense-based damage reduction from Blue Lion's rule, which will help. But even so, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to let him be like a really powerful mage tank. And one of the reasons for that is because he doesn't have a source of guard built into his weapon. So something like Winter Lysithea, who has special cooldown in her weapon, will be able to get that special off on the second hit, which is a big deal because it's probably going to be the thing that like actually kills him. So like one of the things you want to consider is because the way Dimitri is built, he really is built to be an enemy phase unit. So something like a stance skill might be actually really solid in his A skill, as it will give him that really desirable guard he wants. And another thing to consider is that speed stacking will actually be pretty solid. So if you can do like speed and defense stacking, it's going to be very good because what it will do is essentially will make it sure that he doesn't get doubled, so that special doesn't get procced. And then he'll also be able to have all that defense, right? Which will make him not only hit harder, but also reduce the amount of damage he's taken. Overall, this refine is very good, very solid. This makes Dimitri into a very good frontline unit. Now, when it comes to the meta, is this going to make Dimitri like the most meta unit? Probably not. This isn't like a Brave Hector level refine, right? Like you're not going to see Brave Dimitri in like every single game mode dominating every game mode, but it does make him a lot better and definitely usable. A max investment Brave Dimitri could definitely show up in some game modes, and I can definitely see him being a very powerful frontline unit in something like Summoner Duels possibly, just because that damage reduction and the true damage is really, really good. It's essentially part of the reason why Asker is so amazing, but Asker also does have the supportive effects, which Dimitri does not have, but he will technically be a better tank in some ways because he does have that low attack defense, which is really, really nice. Final thing for Dimitri, I'm very happy with this refine overall. Very good. I'm glad they did not give him because he was a distant counter unit, like some other units in this refined batch. Let's go ahead and move on to Edelgard. Okay, here is Brave Edelgard with her Flower Hot Claire. She has Accelerate Special Trigger Count -1. At the start of turn, if unit's HP is greater than 25%, unit can move 1 extra space and grants the following stats to unit for 1 turn. Unit can move to a space adjacent to any ally within 2 spaces. And at start of combat, if your HP is greater than 25%, you inflict attack and defense -6 on the foe during combat. So there's nothing different here. This is completely the same as it was before, but then we get to the refine. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants bonus to unit's attack, defense, and resistance during combat equals X times 2 plus 3, where X equals the number of spaces moved by whoever initiated combat, max 3. Okay, so this right here, this is essentially similar to what Brave Seliph got, right? Where you're going to have that effect where either if Edelgard moves to engage on the enemy, or if the enemy moves to engage on her, she will get a bonus to her stats based off how much movement there was. So if you are fighting, let's say, a normal melee unit, they move 2 spaces, you're going to get 2 times 2 plus 3, so you're going to get +7 attack, defense, and resistance, which is very solid. But then if you have someone like a Cav coming at you and they move 3 spaces, you can get up to 9, which is really good. Honestly, +9 to all stats is amazing. And the best part is that there's more. So you're going to even get Inflict Attack Defense -6 on the foe. So that's another 6 attack, defense, and resistance essentially. So just from the refine itself, you can get 15 attack, defense, and resistance. And then if you count the base weapon alongside that, that's 21 attack, defense, and resistance from her weapon. That is insanely powerful. That's very, very good, right? That's super solid. Then she also gets Restore 7 HP to unit when dealing damage. So for every single attack she'll do, she'll heal 7 HP. This is very good because it means that she doesn't need to run like a noontime special, right? A healing special or mystic boost. She can run a more offensive special, which will help a ton with her killing ability. So that's awesome. That's really good. And then lastly, if X equals 1, so as long as the opponent moves 1 space to engage on Edelgard, or if Edelgard moves 1 space to engage on them, she will inflict guard on them. So overall, this refine has a lot of stuff going on, right? Essentially what she got is that she got a ton of stats, like an absolutely ridiculous amount of stats. She got healing per hit, which is really good. That's some of the best healing in the game, to be honest. And then she got guard. So these are all great effects for Edelgard. But now let's talk about the meta a bit, right? Because the save meta is here right now, and is this going to be enough to make Brave Edelgard into a premier save tank? And unfortunately, I think the answer is no. I have not done the math yet, but I'm pretty sure Duocrom will destroy Edelgard still. And the reason for that is she has no way to really stop the Deadeye, right? She didn't negate her armor effectiveness, which is a big deal. She didn't get like more damage reduction, even though the damage reduction on the first hit wouldn't have worked against Deadeye anyway. Either way though, like it's just not enough right now, because the problem is when it comes to Duocrom, he is only 1 unit, right? But he's the most prominent unit in the game right now. He is literally in every single game mode. And because of that, Edelgard's gonna struggle, right? She cannot take a Deadeye to the face. If she gets hit by a Deadeye, she's probably just gonna explode into pieces, which is really unfortunate. Now, if you have some kind of way to like cancel out Crom's Deadeye, maybe she survives a hit, and then because of her guard, he won't actually get his Deadeye, which is really cool, right? So if you can figure out a way to do that, you can definitely make it work for Edelgard. But even so, like, it's a big weakness to have. She still has the weakness of armor, so even if he is just hitting her for normal damage, it's going to be a ton of damage, and she's not going to probably have enough power to, like, one-shot him back. I can't really think of a way she will be able to do that. So overall, I think Edelgard got a very solid refine. She's definitely going to be much more powerful than she was before. She's going to be a much better save or near save tank, either one. But I don't think it's quite enough to make her into like the most premier save tanks like Ascended D'Thun or like Brave Hector or Mufasa, right? Though I will say it is possible you could run a Hardy Fighter build on her, and maybe that will be enough to make her survive Duocrom. but I'm honestly not sure without doing the math. And also you do lose access to Black Eagle Rule, which is a big part of her power, as that's going to be the thing that's going to let her do the doubles and also give the damage reduction on the secondary hits. So we will have to wait and see how that matchup ends up turning up. Okay, let's move on to our next unit. We have Claude, Brave Claude, and whew, there's a lot going on here. He has a ton of effects in this weapon now. So we have Accelerate Special Cooldown Count -1, effective against flying foes. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attack speed, defense, and resistance +5 during combat. And if unit deals damage to a foe using a special, restores 50% of maximum HP. Reduces the effect of deep wounds by 60%. So this is very, very important. This is the only change actually in his base weapon. So essentially, instead of healing for like 50% of your health, you'll heal for 30%. Which is still a lot, right? 30% of your maximum HP is a ton, and it makes it much better, right? It actually makes him so that he can heal up and not just immediately die to Fatal Smoke. So that's a big change. I'm really surprised it's in the game, to be honest. I was pretty much against like a direct counter to deep wounds, and this isn't exactly a direct counter, right? It's more like just reducing the effectiveness of it. So I'm kind of happy with it. It's a nice medium ground, to be honest. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than 25%, grants +$5 stats to unit during combat, neutralizes effects that prevents units follow-up attacks, and effects that inflict special cooldown charge -X. And also, if bonus is active on unit, reduces damage from foes first attack by 30%. Okay, so this is pretty cool. So essentially what he's going to do is if he's above 25% HP, he's going to get some stats, he's going to get half of null follow-up, so he's going to get the offensive part, right? So that his double cannot be denied, which is really, really good because he needs his double to kill. And then he's also going to get half of tempo, the anti-guard effect. So essentially he will get his special off, which is very, very important because that's one of the major things he needs in order to make himself work. And then lastly, if he has a bonus active, so if that's like a visible buff or some kind of effect on him, right, he's going to reduce the damage from foes first attack by 30%. Okay, so how good of a refine is this really, right? Essentially, this refine gives him everything that we kind of wanted for Claude, right? It fixes his Fatal Smoke weakness, it fixes his null follow-up weakness, it fixes his guard weakness, and then it also gives him damage reduction so that he doesn't get immediately exploded on the first hit. Though it isn't true damage reduction, so something like lethality or Deadeye will go through it and Claude will die for sure. How good of a refine is this? This is going to make Claude much, much more usable. He's now actually usable in like something like Ether Raids or other game modes. But I am a bit worried about Claude still. And the reason for that is that Claude does not necessarily have the power to kill everything, right? And the reason for that is that he doesn't have like true damage. He doesn't have like some kind of way to get like his special up all the time. So he's not going to like pop off Deadeyes really easily. He doesn't have like effective against certain unit types. So because of that, I feel like Claude might struggle to actually kill things, and he might die because of that, right? Because he doesn't have full NFU. So if the foe has a guaranteed follow-up attack, if he can't kill them in 2 hits, he's kind of in big trouble. And typically, you're going to want to run a 2 cooldown special, like Moonbow Glimmer or Ruptured Sky, because you're going to want to get that healing immediately, right? You're going to get hit, you're going to take a good amount of damage because he doesn't have the most bulk in the game. He's going to hit back with a special. It might not kill, right? And then if the foe comes back in and hits you again, that might like be the end of Claude. So I do think this refine's really good, and it gave him a lot of things he does need. I am interested in to see if Claude can actually kill his opponents as a tank. And one way you might have to deal with this is just using him with a near save unit and only let him dealing with like ranged units, because ranged units tend to be more squishy, so he should be able to kill them more easily. Overall, I think this refine is great. It's going to allow me to have fun with Brave Claude, which I'm very happy about. But I don't think it's going to be enough to push him like into like a very meta competitive spot, right? I don't expect him to see him in like summoner duels or anything like that. I expect to see him in Ether Raids because I think he'll be a lot of fun there. Overall, I think he's like on the same power level essentially as Edelgard refined, where it's very good. It gave him a lot of stuff he does need, but it's not overwhelming in any way where I feel like it's going to make like Claude overpowered. Okay, let's move on to our final Choose Your Legends unit, Lysithea. So we have Dark Spike's T, effective against cavalry foes, grants speed +3. At start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than 75%, grants attack and speed +6 during combat. If unit's HP is less than 100%, and unit initiates combat, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack before a foe can counterattack. So there's nothing different here, this is exactly the way it was before. So let's check out the refine. Accelerate special trigger count -1. At start of turn, grants the following status to unit for 1 turn and deals 1 damage to unit. Unit can move to a space adjacent to any ally within 2 spaces. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attack and speed +6 to unit during combat and special cooldown charge +1 per unit's attack. Okay, so let's break this down. So essentially we still have the same thing where she's going to have... So essentially we have the same thing here. We have speed +3. We're going to have a special cooldown count -1, which is really nice. We still have the effective against cavalry foes. And then if the foe's HP is above 75%, she'll get attack and speed +6. And then also if she initiates or if she has an ally within 2 spaces, she'll get another attack and speed +6. So essentially attack and speed +12, which is really nice. That's a lot of power right there. Then she's also going to get an effect at the beginning of turn where she will deal damage to herself, which will then activate her weapon. So essentially she's going to be able to go in with like a desperation effect and a guaranteed follow-up attack. So she's going to be able to go in, hit twice in a row essentially on the enemy. And that's really good. That's amazing. She's also going to have a formation buff, right? So she can teleport to an ally within 2 spaces right next to them. So pretty much similar to like Bridal Catcher, right? But without the Brave effect. And so she's going to be able to do that. And then she also has like a heavy blade effect with no check on it. So she's going to be able to accelerate specials. So she's going to be able to get bigger specials out. So with this Brave Lysithea, essentially what you're going to want to do is run like a 3 cooldown special, like something like Luna probably, as she'll be able to go in, hit once, get 2 special cooldown, and then hit again, and essentially proc a Luna, which will deal a ton of damage, obviously. So let's talk about the good things. The first thing, Lysithea is going to hit like a nuke now. She's going to hit twice in a row, which is going to be very powerful. And she, like I said, she's going to get a lot of specials off. Also, because she's really fast and she has a guaranteed follow-up attack, she doesn't necessarily need null follow-up, which is really nice because that means you can run something else in her B slot, like the lull she comes with, or you can run a tempo skill, which means that she'll always get her special off, which is really, really good. The other thing is that she can just activate her own weapon, which is really nice, though it will deal 1 damage to her every single turn, which is kind of interesting because usually it's only if you're at 100% HP, but for this one, it's going to be every single turn. Now let's talk about some of the bad things. First of all, she's going to hit really hard, but she is going to run into damage reduction. So she is fast, so if she runs into speed-based damage reduction, she could probably get through it and be fine. But if she runs something like a dragon, she's probably going to struggle there. Or if she just runs into like flat damage reduction, she's going to struggle there as well, which can be kind of problematic. The other major problem is that Deflect Magic has become very meta since they gave away Dualcorn for free, and Deflect Magic is going to reduce a lot of Lysithea's power. Also, a lot of the premier save tanks are blue, like Brave Hector, like Ascended Thune, and so she's going to struggle really hard against those matchups, which does kind of suck. What I will say though is this is a very nice setup for future investment, and what I mean by this is that if we do get more mage skills like Flare, which is like the inheritable Deadeye essentially for mages, if we get that, Lysithea is going to use it extremely well depending on the cooldown, right? If it's a 3 cooldown special, she's going to be able to pop that on a foe before they can even counterattack, which will be extremely powerful. So if that does come out, that's going to be amazing on her. It's going to make her extremely powerful and maybe make her meta in that situation. As she is right now, I think she's very good, a great red nuke, but I don't know if she's going to be meta per se, just because of the prevalence of Ascended Thune and Hector, and she's going to struggle against those two a lot. I do think Lysithea got a great refine though. She's going to be much, much more powerful than she was before. She's going to be able to destroy a lot of things, to be honest. It's just those like very meta safe tanks she'll struggle against. I do wish that the 1 damage dealt to herself was 2 allies as well, so she could be a support unit, but they decided not to go that route, so she is a bit more of a selfish DPS character. Okay, next up is gonna be Haar, my boy. Oh my gosh. I am so absurdly happy. Let's talk about this. So he has Tempest Claws, and his first effect is gonna be neutralizes effective against flying bonuses. Blue tomes are effective against unit. Inflicts speed -5, unit attacks twice. Okay, so this is his weapon. First of all, he has IOT shield into it, which is really nice. That means he's gonna be able to deal with like archers, which is good because he has a very powerful defensive stat. Second of all, he actually gained a weakness, which is pretty funny. This is essentially like a Tellius callback where flying units were weak to lightning magic, which in Fae is blue tomes. So that's kind of a cool call out. I'm not the most happy about him gaining a weakness, obviously, but I do think that they gave him a powerful enough weapon to make up for it. Then he's going to get speed -5, which is pretty typical of a brave weapon. The bad thing about this is that they actually didn't like fully explain the weapon. Usually when it says unit attacks twice, it will say even if the foe engages, right? Because this is a dual phase brave weapon. This is not just player phase, this is dual phase, which is super awesome. I'm very, very, very happy about that. That's exactly what I want for Haar because it's going to allow him to just smash through enemies. Even if they attack him, he's just going to do so much. I'm so happy about this. Then let's check out his actual refine. So if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, he's going to get some stats, so attack and defense +5 during combat. And then he's actually going to get true defense as well, just like Brave Dimitri, where he's actually going to reduce the damage from foes' attacks by 15% of his defense. Which, you know, obviously Dimitri got 20%, but 15 is still really good. So if we're like looking at something like 60 defense, he's going to reduce the damage from every single attack by 9, which is big. That's massive. Like, And this damage reduction isn't pierceable by something by lethality or deadeye, so it's going to just make Haar very, very tanky, and I'm really excited to use him. I'm not sure what build I'm going to go yet, but Haar's going to be amazing. And then he's also going to get a guard effect, which is very solid. It's going to make sure that he doesn't get hit by specials, because he is pretty slow, so he's probably going to get doubled. But if they can't get their special off, there's a good chance he'll just survive, or he'll just retaliate and completely annihilate them with his brave weapon. Overall, I think this is a very solid refine for Haar. He definitely is much more powerful than he was before. There's lots of different ways to play him now. You can like have a player phase Haar, you can have an enemy phase Haar. Definitely one of the better GH refines we have gotten. Now, it isn't perfect, obviously. His base weapon doesn't have any stats built into it, so his stats are going to be a bit lower than some other units. I wish they would have given him attack and defense +5 in that base weapon, but they didn't, of course. And then also, I kind of wish that they would have gave him special acceleration instead of guard, so that he could get big specials off, which he won't be able to do because he's not an infantry unit, so he doesn't have access to like Times Pulse or like a breath effect, right? Either way, this is massive, and Haar's going to be a great unit now. Definitely one of the better axe flyers we're going to have in the game, which is really cool, as before he was kind of a lacking wyvern flyer. Okay, up next we have our legendary hero Julia, and she has Virtuous Naga. Let's go through it. Effective against dragon foes, grants attack +3. At start of combat, if unit's attack is greater than foe's attack, or foe's HP is greater than 75%, grants attack and res +6 to unit during combat, and also, if unit's resistance is greater than foe's resistance, reduces damage from attacks during combat and from AoE specials by a percentage equal to the difference between stats, max 40%. Okay, so we actually got some nice upgrades to her base weapon. First of all, that condition where it was only greater than foe's attack is now also if their HP is greater than 75%. So this is going to make it a lot easier for Julia to get that attack and resistance +6 no matter what, which is great. Then she also essentially got Dragon Wall built into her weapon, so she got that resistance-based damage reduction up to 40%. That's really good. It's going to allow her to just engage into opponents and not get blown up on the counterattack most of the time, though this will be weak to lethality and deadeye, obviously. Now let's check out the refine. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants +4 to all stats to unit during combat, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack, and also, if in combat against a dragon foe, unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range. Okay, so they really like this if unit is within 3 spaces of an ally condition. It's like staple on almost every unit now. Either way, she's going to get +4 to all stats, which is great. She's going to get a guaranteed follow-up attack, which is really massive, because that's really what she needed, to be honest. Even if you speed stack Julia, she can struggle to double sometimes. So this will allow her to double against foes, unless they have no follow-up. And against slower foes, she can still have good speed, so if they try to deny her follow-up, she'll still get through and hit them twice, which is great. And then lastly, this is a really cool effect I didn't expect to happen, even though base Julia does have it, where she's going to get close counter, but only against dragons. Which makes sense, honestly, because she really doesn't want to get into a melee fight against most things, but with a dragon, they have to target her resistance, so she'll survive and she'll be able to blow them up. So overall, this refine's actually really, really cool. I'm very happy that they kind of made her into like a tanky blue mage who can also pump out a lot of damage. Now, she's still going to struggle against some stuff, like the meta save units, right? She can't get past like Hardy Fighter or anything like that. She'll probably die on retaliation, so there is a bit of struggle there, but as an arena unit, Julia is much more powerful. She's going to be able to deal with a lot more of those enemies, and she'll also do a great job of surviving, which is really, really great. Honestly, this is a massive upgrade for Julia, and it makes her much better as a unit, and honestly makes her one of the better blue mages in the game, which is really nice, especially considering we just got Legendary Deirdre. Okay, here we are. It's the final refine, and I left it for last because it's the worst. This is some straight garbage, but let's go ahead and read it. So we have Sublime Surge. Neutralizes effect against dragon bonuses. Unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range. If foe's range equals 2, adaptive damage. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than 5%, +4 to all stats during combat, and reduces damage from foe's first attack by 40%. That's it. That's the entire refine. This is so terrible. Oh my gosh. So essentially, her base weapon is exactly the same as it was, which is extremely underpowered. They need to put stats there. She needed to get +4 to all stats at least, right? She needed that at the very bare minimum. But then her actual refine is just like +4 to all stats and damage reduction, but it's only against the first attack. It's not even all attacks, which is stupid in my opinion. And then second of all, it's like pierceable by like lethality or deadeye, right? This is not what Sothis needed. Like, it's just trash. It's so bad. I can't even explain how bad it is. Like, she also got Serious too, obviously, which did give her that tempo effect, like, built into her special. And then it also increased, like, the healing and damage by a bit. But that's just not going to do anything, right? Like, she's not going to be a tank on defense. Like, if you're going to be a tank on defense, you have to be a save unit, pretty much. If not, you're just going to struggle, right? This isn't going to make her like more difficult to really kill. It's not going to allow her to like hit really hard and destroy anything. Honestly, I don't think it makes her like any better of a defense mythic almost at all. Like no matter what happens, I'm not going to run Sothis on defense still, right? Like before I would just avoid Sothis weeks no matter what because she did nothing. And with this, she's still going to do nothing. So do not waste your due on it unless you're like a super hardcore Sothis fan and like, you know, that's your favorite unit, then go for it. But other than that, I would not waste your due at all because this refine is just garbage. Absolute, utter garbage. Okay, and with that, we are done with the refined conversation. So let's just talk about who I think the big winners are of this refined batch. Okay, so the biggest winners, I think, by far is going to be Brave Dimitri. Brave Dimitri actually came out. He still has his weaknesses. Like, this is not a Brave Hector level refine, but it made, like, Brave Dimitri was essentially like a garbage unit, if we're being honest. Like, he was so bad, you couldn't use him. I've tried a million times with all kinds of stuff. He just did not work. This is going to make Dimitri into a very good unit, like a very powerful unit. He's going to be a great frontliner. He's going to be able to do so much now. So definitely Dimitri wins when it comes to refines, which feels amazing in my opinion, right? After that, I think below that we have like Haar. Haar had a very solid refine. It's going to make him a very good Wyvern Rider. He's going to be able to go out. He's going to be able to destroy enemies on player and enemy phase. He has true defense, which is going to make him really difficult to take down. And he also has Eyelet Shield, which is really good because it removes that bow weakness, which is so common, right? Now, he did gain the mage weakness to blue tomes, but even so, you probably shouldn't be fighting blue tomes anyway with Haar, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. Right alongside Haar, I'd say, like maybe below a little bit, but pretty close, are going to be Brave Edelgard and Claude. Both of them got really solid refines, in my opinion. They got things that they needed to make them better. Claude, I think, did a little bit better just because he got all the things he needed to fulfill that tanking role. When it comes to Edelgard, they just made her into a monstrous stat ball, which is cool. It's very nice, but I do wish that they would have addressed some of her like armor weaknesses or even her brave weakness. She's very weak to like brave weapons who can hit her twice before that damage reduction turns on. So while I do think Brave Edelgard got a very good refine and she's going to be very usable, I do not think it's enough to make her into one of the meta save units at the moment. Also, alongside those three, I think Julia got a really cool refine. Julia's going to have, more power. She has the close counter, which is kind of interesting. She's going to have a lot easier time surviving and also getting those guaranteed fall attacks, so she's going to be able to kill. It's a very solid refine. I do wish that they would have kind of leaned more into her being a nuke so that she'd be more usable in other game modes. But even so, she's going to be a great blue mage. And then also we have Winter Lysithea. And Winter Lysithea is going to be really, really powerful against a lot of units. But the big but, of course, is if you are a nuke, right? If you're one of the premier nukes in the game, you need to be able to kill save units. If you cannot kill save units, you're going to struggle. And unfortunately, I don't see Lysithea killing the best save units. I don't see her killing Ascended Dune. I don't see her killing Brave Hector, probably. She could probably kill something like Ascended Fjorm pretty easily, or like stuff like that. Maybe Fallen Rhea? I don't know about that one. I'm going to have to try that one out. I'm kind of more on the fence on Lysithea. I think that she has the potential to be really good, but we really do need that damage reduction. Piercing special for her to really skyrocket. If that comes out, I think Brave Lysithea's stonks go up like way higher, and she becomes one of the better nukes in the entire game. And then lastly, of course, we have Sothis, and Sothis is just a garbage refine. Like, honestly, it feels like they didn't give her a refine at all. This is just terrible, terrible refine. Very unfortunate to see her there. Anyways, I'd love to hear about your opinions. Which refines did you love? Which ones do you think are the most powerful? Do you think these refines are enough to bring some of these units into the meta or make them even like dominate the meta? I'd love to hear your opinions, so make sure to drop a comment down below. And also make sure to let me know which refine is your favorite. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and keeps the content coming out. This has been Oblivion, and I'll catch you all later with more Fire Emblem Heroes.